Hey guys, how you doing today? It's Steve again on the Guru Brew. Today I want to do another repair video. This time on this Toshiba satellite. This is the Toshiba C655-S5512. And they made a lot of these of the same brand in the C655 series. So if your last few numbers are a little different, it should be pretty much the same. It's just different options. Anyway, what's wrong with this laptop? Well, it doesn't have any power at all. And when you press the power button, nothing happens, no sounds, nothing. And when you plug in the AC adapter that come with it, nothing. There's a little light on here that shows that the AC adapter light's on, or is powered on. But as far as the charge lights and to let you know that it has power, nothing showing. And so I'm going to walk you through the steps to troubleshoot this. Now, I will tell you in advance, this might not turn out to be a very happy story. A lot of times when you have no power situations with laptops, it means they're dead. And it means that the motherboard is usually at fault because these things have problems with heat. And a lot of times they run hard and they burn themselves out. But this video will be good because I'm going to take you through the steps that I would do to troubleshoot this and try to find out what's wrong. And if you want to follow along on your computer as well, if you have a problem, you may get to one of the steps and yours will work. So that's why I'm going to cover all the steps of troubleshooting. We're going to start with the cord and work our way through until we get this running or we've decided that it can't be fixed. So anyway, on with the Toshiba satellite repair. That's coming up next. Okay, we have the Toshiba here on the bench, and here's our power supply. So let's go ahead and open this up. And we're going to start with our power supply, okay? Now, if you notice, this one has a light on it, so that's useful to see if we're getting power to it. And when I plug it in, of course, the light lights. And if it doesn't, you can stop right there and assume that this is probably your problem. And if this is your problem, you can get a replacement online. So, ours appears okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug it into the laptop. And if you notice, there are no lights, nothing's happening. Generally, there's some lights down here on this one, and there's a light here on the power switch. And I like to wiggle the cord around and make sure that it's not a loose connection here on the wire. And it doesn't appear to be. So, if you have a multimeter like this one, this is used to check voltages and continuity. You can use it to check our AC adapter. And just because this light is on does not mean that there's power going to this tip. If this wire in between here and here got damaged, let's say it got stuck in a recliner chair or a dog bit it or something, it might have a broken wire. So what we want to do is verify that it has voltage going to this tip. If you flip your power adapter over, it'll always say how many volts output it has, and this one is 19 volts. 19V is what it says. So we're going to set our multimeter for DC volts and go higher than 19 volts for testing. I'm going to set mine on 20. We're going to use our two leads and we're going to connect them to the tip and see if we're getting our 19 volts. Now generally on these, the tip, the outside casing is our negative, so I'm going to hold the black one to the casing, and then the positive is usually the center. So we'll just go like that. And indeed, there's our 19 volts. It's actually 19.5 volts. and it will be over just a little, but that's fine, 19 volts. So that tells me that this tip has the 19.5 volts that this laptop needs. So I've tested the AC adapter and all seems well with it. However, I have seen in very rare cases where even though this tests out just fine, it's not putting out enough amperage. The voltage tests fine, but the amperage is simply not there enough to run a laptop. And I've seen laptops not turn on because of this problem. So it always makes sense, especially if you do this a lot with repairing laptops, is to have one of these. This is a universal AC adapter, and it's meant to replace your laptop power supply. And I showed you on the back where this one is 19 volts. This has a switch that goes from 15 to 24 volts, and I can simply just flip my switch to the desired voltage and use it on my laptop. Now, this tip set also comes with it, and all I have to do is match up the tip that came with my original, and it looks like this one right here. So what you can do is just take this tip, and that will fit just like that, and then I can use this as my replacement for this. They're just good to have around. If you're interested in this product, I'll put a link to Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and you can get your own. But I've done the universal AC test with this laptop already off camera, so I know that's not the problem. But I just wanted you to be aware of this. And hopefully you can stop right there with yours, and perhaps your AC adapter is the problem. It is pretty common. So now that we've covered the AC adapter, let's look at it a little bit further. Just about every laptop that I've come across was designed to work with or without the battery. So the next thing I would do is pull out the battery. Now, it's common for the batteries in these laptops not to be any good. They only last about a year or two. And then you have to get another one or just use the AC adapter all the time. But your computer should run without the battery. It might need the battery in place, but it should run even though the battery's not any good. But what I like to do in this next step is remove the battery and go ahead and try it again and see if we get any spark at all. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in our AC adapter back in. Got a little light that shows us it's on. And see if we have any lights or any activity at all, which we do not have. And again, that's with the battery off. Try the power button. So I'm going to put the battery back in. And one more time. Now, if you're getting flashing lights or some other indication that you do have power, and then you know that you have a power issue. However, I'm not getting any of that, so I need to keep checking. Okay, so what I like to do next is start taking things off the laptop and seeing if it will power up or I'll get any kind of activity without parts on it. And what I mean by parts, I mean the hard drive, the memory modules, that sort of thing. So I'm going to pull my memory out, my RAM, and I'm going to pull the hard drive out. And the idea behind this is if one of these items like the hard drive had a short in it or something like that, and was preventing it from booting up, if I take it out, it would have the opportunity to try to power on, or at least give me a light to indicate that there was a light, a problem with that item. So let me start out with those two items. Of course, it's not going to start with no RAM or a hard drive, but it just may do something, which it is not yet. Really, computer repair is just processes of elimination, really. Let's see if this is the screw for the optical drag. I think it might be. Yep. I want to keep that right with this too, so I'll put it right back in there. And nothing. Now, a good idea for you would be to look up your make and model online and see if you can find anything about other people experiencing the same problem. And that's smart to do, especially before you start taking it apart, because just like cars or other items, a lot of times there's defects in them, and over a large population of people having them, people report the same problem. So it's always a good idea to check with other folks reporting any problems. It might give you a clue. Now, I did look up this one, and this one is known for having bad power cables internally, like the connector. The connector starts here and it has a wire harness and it connects to the motherboard. And in fact, I see replacements that they sell. So that tells me that there's a call for them. And who knows, maybe this one has a bad power cable. So I've done all the tests I can really do without taking it apart. It's time to get the service manual out and start pulling screws and take this thing apart. So I'm going to do that now. I want to show you something about these Toshibas that I really like. A lot of computer manufacturers are starting to do this, but they're labeling the hole, and you can see that this says F6. So this says F6, and this is F3. So once I determine what the F6 screw looks like and the F3 screw looks like, I don't have to keep track of them as closely as I may if they weren't marked. You can see that all the screw holes are marked. So that's a really nice feature. So I'll pull out an F6 screw and I'll mark it as such. And then I'll pull out an F3 screw and do the same. That way I'll know what's what. Makes it a little easier. Time to take this thing apart. If you use a guitar pick, it'll keep you from marring up the plastic. See if this will come up. Now there is a battery here for our system, our CMOS battery, and that stores all our post information, for starting up. And it looks like our Wi-Fi and Bluetooth modules under here too. This connector here, no. Just having a look around. Alright, one keyboard. So I've showed this before, but I think it's worth repeating. When you're taking these things apart, take all the screws that go to that particular part. Like these are the 4 screws I removed to get the keyboard out. And just take a little bit of masking tape and stick them right to the thing that they belong to, like that. Also, I'm going to mark on here what wire's what. Like there's a white wire on the top and a black wire on the bottom. So I'm just going to put a W and a B. That way I know white and black. It is time to take off the top cover. Lots of fun here. Lots of screws as well. Here on the table, I've arranged my screws just like I took them out. And if you look here, this is actually this as a square, and I can just pick them up, and I know that this screw goes in this far hole. So that's how I like to do it. Okay, I think I have all the screws out, so let's flip this back over. And there's a few ribbon cables that I have to disconnect here. Oh yeah, I do. I have to take this one off because that'll be the ribbon cable for the touchpad. Make sure I'm not pulling on anything I shouldn't be pulling on here. Looks like there's still a screw or something holding that. Of course, I forgot a screw probably. Oh, no, I didn't. Just gonna peek under here and see. Yeah, it looks like I didn't even have to actually take these cables off, did I? Yes, I guess I did. Well, that was a lot easier to do than an HP, that's for sure. I'm in already. That was actually pretty quick. Okay, so I have the camera set up over in this area because this is where our power comes in. This is where our adapter plugs into the computer, and the power is transferred down this wire into the motherboard, which is here. So what we're going to do is just keep following the power. You know, we started with the end that goes into our wall, and we're just following it through. So in order to eliminate that this harness may be a problem, we're going to check the power coming in on the board and see if we can find our 19 volts. And if we can, then we can eliminate this part being bad. Let me pop this out of here real quick. This is just a press fit connector. It's a sealed unit, and there's 2 leads that come off the bottom in this shrink tube, and there's like a choke that's wrapped around. There's 2 wires, black and red, positive and negative, and they continue on and go underneath here. So we're going to have to pull up this motherboard enough just to see underneath here. Let me go ahead and do the screws for that. Maybe I can just lift this corner of the board and see what these wires are connected to. Looks like it's held down by our fan here. I want to disassemble the fan anyway and clean it out. If this computer runs again, I want to make make sure the fan is clean, but we'll do it after we figure out if we can get this going or not. There we go. Disconnect the fan here. Might as well take off this wire too. This goes up to the LCD monitor. You want to be very careful with this wire. If you mess up one of these wires on the display, you might as well just buy a new monitor. Very hard to fix. I really like the design of this Toshiba, though. It's easy to take apart. A lot less hassle than that HP I worked on last time. There we go. You know, the fan is surprisingly not very dirty. This machine doesn't look like it has a lot of hours on it at all, unless this has been opened before. That's surprisingly clean. See if I can get this motherboard out of here. I think it'll lift right out now with our power cable attached here. Yeah, even the fins on the radiator, look how clean they are. So heat is taken away off the processor with this pipe, this copper pipe, and it comes into this radiator core just like a car, really. And then the fan sits here and blows air across the pipe and out the computer through these fins. That cooling system looks very clean. So let's get a look at this harness first. And we want to make sure that we're getting power into these connections. So the easiest way to do that is to put this motherboard on a place with no metallic under it. I don't want to short anything out. Make sure there's nothing under there that's metallic at all. And I'm going to get my multimeter here. I've got a couple clips that are on my terminals of my multimeter, and I'm going to take some pins, some T-pins. These. And I'm going to poke them on these connection points down here when it's plugged in and make sure that I'm getting my 19 volts. So I'm sending power to the motherboard. I've got my multimeter set on DC 20 volts, and there's two sets of wires that come up here on this harness. Hopefully you can see this. Let me see. So my harness is here, and it comes up, and there's actually two red and two black wires. So what I'm guessing is they probably split it up. There's two positives coming in and two negatives. So let's just take our pins that are attached to our multimeter and poke around in here a little bit and see if we can get any voltages off here. Just be very careful we don't short anything out. Nothing there. Guess what? I think that our travels are over. I'm not getting anything across these wires at all. Let's wiggle this a little bit. Actually, let me turn this off and remove it from the motherboard. I'm going to take my pins and put them directly down into this connector here. Well, the pins aren't going to fit, they're too fine, but let me turn this back on. I just don't want to mess up the motherboard if I accidentally touch the wrong thing, you know. This probably isn't the best way to do this, but it's better than having it on the motherboard. Very awkward, but let's make our test here. I'm checking both sets of wires here. I'm not getting any voltage. Nothing. Okay, that is a great sign. That's I think there's our problem, actually. Now the next question is, if I were to get my 19 volts to the board, would this fire up, or is there other problems? Well, I temporarily put the motherboard and the fan back in, and I've got my jumper wire on here that I'm pretty sure is bad. So I want to test this and make sure that it's going to fire up before I order another jack. I can buy these online, but there's no point in buying it if I'm not sure that this is going to do something. So how do I test this? There are some test points here. There's 4 of them. There's actually 2 black and 2 red, so there's 2 negative rails and 2 positive rails coming down to this board through 4 wires. I looked through my parts drawer to see if I could find another one of these, because chances are it is this. There's a little clip inside that rubs against the barrel when you push in the... Show you on this. When you push this in, the center goes right into the tube, and that's pretty easy to understand. But on the side of this barrel, that's usually your ground, and when you push it in, there's a metal thing that presses up against there, and chances are that's what the problem is. And because this is sealed, there's no way to bend that metal thing so it touches this better. There's nothing you can really do with it, really. I mean, you could break it open, but you're just going to break it, you know. So I found this jack in my junk box, and it's very similar. In fact, the power adapter fits right in there. But it's too big to fit down in here, and I would have to modify it. So I'd rather just have the right part, but I do want to test this first. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and trim these wires here, attach this temporarily, and try it and see if the laptop will run. So let's do that now. Just going to cut this off right about here. I keep turning that overhead light off and on because it's making a glare right here. It drives me crazy, but it's hard to see what I'm doing if I don't. Anyway, I'm going to use this small piece of shrink tubing just because, even though this is a temporary connection. I think that'll serve as a temporary connection. Let's try this baby out. All right, the moment of truth. Here we go. And yes, success. Can you see this green light right here? That LED, I think, indicates that the battery is... No, it can't be the battery is charging because there's no battery in it. It must just indicate power. Let me see if I can get the switch on here. Maybe we can get that fan running. This is a good thing. So here on my lid is the power button, and I want to connect that temporarily. That goes right here. Our LED is still on. Fire in the hole. Yep, the fan is spinning. It just quit, probably because of no memory. Just connect it to reset it. And connect it. Here we go. See the fan? So this thing would probably fire right up if I had all the rest of the connections on. And that LED is shining. Oh look, we have a blinker now. So that probably means error, huh? So this thing is as good as fixed. All I have to do is get the harness for it, which is under $10, and hook this thing back up, and I'm sure it'll work fine. So let's go out for some final thoughts on this laptop. Got kind of lucky on this one, didn't we? So yes, I couldn't resist. I fudged it together, and now I'm reinstalling the operating system for my own. You can see how I fudged it here with that plug and some shrink tube. And I'll probably leave it like that and order the cable and put it back to the way it should be. I wanted to tell you how I got this computer. When I was doing the repair business, the girl said she wanted it fixed, but she didn't want to spend more than about $75. And I told her right then and there that because there was no power, no signs of power, it would be at least $75. And so she just said, here, you can keep this, and bought another one. And I kept it thinking that perhaps I could fix it one day, and I've got more just like this. So that's what you do. I hope this video helps you out. If you have a laptop and the condition doesn't have any power that is visible, start with the plug and work your way into the motherboard. So it looks like I'm going to have a pretty nice computer here, and I hope you got some use out of this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up and a comment. We like reading them, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Look at these spider web looking things in the grass. These things are all over the place today. I want to show you something though. Watch this. What are these crazy things? I'm expecting an alien to come out of them and bite my foot off.